What is up? It's time for episode 1 of the B Brothers Show. My brother, Alex B. What up?
What's going on? It seems like it's been a while, which it has been.
It has been. I think the last time we recorded was in November.
Yeah, I think it was when the season was wrapping up, and then you do your thing, I do my thing, and then we kind of missed the whole preseason of Colts and like doing the season preview because, you know, you got a busy life. It's just crazy. Plus, we have the time difference, so the time difference can get a little weird because when you're getting ready to wind down or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think we'll make it work. I'm pretty sure.
We'll make it work. But hey, let the record state, you're the fucker that moved St. Louis, man.
Yep. Well, when you have a casino company that gives you the high hard one after 25 years, you must go where the opportunity is. And let me tell you something crazy enough. And of all the stressful things that I've done in career, whatever, this literally I probably think is the most fun because I'm not micromanaged. You know what I mean? It's just a good place to be, and really horses are, people say this, horses are very therapeutic. I go out there at 7:00 in the morning sometimes and record them doing their workouts and stuff, and there's nobody else out there, and it's just something about it that is just very, very peaceful, very zen. I don't even want to use the word zen because I'm not no type of new age dude, but yeah, it's zen. It works. What can I say? Now,
for a second there, though, I thought you said horses were people, and I was like, dude, I know it's been a while since we've been on the show, but what happened to you?
I don't. Well, I'm now 55. I turned 55 this past week. I'm old, man. Jeez, oh, Pete's. You're not that far behind me. You're probably, what, 10 years behind me? What are you?
I'm more than 10 years. I'm 41, brother. 41.
Oh, man.
I'm a young Sprite chicken compared to you, man.
You're just a pup. You're just a pup. All right. So before we get into Colt stuff, because I try to peruse the headlines, because like I said, we missed the whole thing. We used to do this on Monday. We used to call it Myles Monday, but then Myles came with this idea. It's like, look, not only we can talk about football, we can talk about some current event stuff, and one of us has more of a potty mouth than the other, and I'm sure you fuckers so you can figure that out. So I've
already dropped one of those too.
Okay, so anybody that listens to me on the solo tip, no, I'm just going to speak it. I think it, I speak it. It's kind of like speak and spell, kind of the same thing. I just got to put it out there. All right, I'm going to throw some numbers at you, and I want you to see if you could tell me what I'm pertaining to. Average ticket price in 2022, $121. Average ticket price in 2023, $517. Now, don't be Googling it, because I see you looking at like you're looking at the screen.
I'm not Googling.
Okay.
No, I'm not Googling.
So what do you
think?
What could I possibly be talking about? Nope.
Concert tickets. No.
Nope. Well, probably, but nope.
Let's see. Average ticket. I mean, is that an NFL game?
College.
Who's
the team? Who's the team that went from $121?
Oh, that's definitely got to be Coach Prime. Then I mean, that's the only thing that could cause something like that.
Is this a fluke, or is he like the way? Is he reinvented? Because I know people used to talk shit about him, prime time, Neon Dion, blah 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 blah. But this dude's like undefeated, right? I
mean, yeah, they're 3-0, and granted, I mean, they haven't really played anybody tough yet. I mean, but
right.
Today they took it to double overtime, I think it was, and it took a last second touchdown and 2-point conversion just to send it to overtime. I mean, I'm not willing to say it's the real deal, but taking Colorado from where they were last year to this year,
yeah.
And basically turning over that entire roster, bringing his 2 sons with him. I mean, like, there are people that are like, oh, Coach Prime, it's just a big show. Man, he's doing the thing, but next week is Oregon, man, and that's going to be the real test. If they can continue to do what they've done these last 3 weeks against Oregon, you really got to start seriously looking their way. They're already ranked as it is.
Yeah, I saw that. I see this one picture. It's on Bleacher Report. He's got the cowboy hat on. He's got like the sunglasses and the bling, and obviously he likes making a statement. And he's all in. If he goes hard in the paint, there's no doubt. So really, by next week, we should know whether or not that's a fluke. Because okay, like you said, they really haven't good matchups. But next week, if they win, then what do you think the people, the doubters and stuff, are going to say then?
They'll always find their way, just like they always do. But I mean, here's the thing: I think you can already say it's not a fluke. Right. I mean they've played insanely well. I mean, and it's just there's this energy and just like they can beat anybody. I think what Oregon becomes is it's the next step, right? We already have proved it. They've already proved it's not a fluke, man. It's not, right. And it's fun. It's fun to sit here and watch. from the smack talk that we know, Dion being famous for, to the actual play on the field and them backing it up, right? But Oregon is like the first test for the next step. Like they're playing real competition at that point. And where that takes it is okay, we know it's not a fluke, but how real is it? Like, what kind of opportunity are they going to have? Could they end up in the college football playoff? I mean, beating Oregon doesn't really say that, but it's a huge step in the right direction.
Right. So do you think, because I was reading, people are buying tickets up, restaurants, hotel, all the just the revenue itself that it's generating for Colorado. I mean, they got weed, so God knows they're making money off taxing the potheads. But now you got Neon Dion in the place, and man, like a $400 jump almost. $121 last year. Average ticket price this year, $517. Oops.
That's
wow.
insane. That's insane.
I'm telling you,
man. We're gonna have to use that beeper
a
lot this show, man. I mean, it's gonna take us a few to get used to it, right?
Well, I'm gonna try. I'm not used to having like underwriters and sponsors and stuff, which we'll get into here as we go down the road of what's going on. So I haven't paid much attention to Colts, so I'm just gonna throw out the headlines that I skimmed. What was the big deal about Anthony? No, before today's game. What was the big deal about him? Was he trying to get traded? Like, I don't recall.
No, there was nothing with Anthony Richardson. No, all of the headlines that have been crazy in the offseason have been surrounding Jonathan Taylor. Anthony Richardson, the headline surrounding him was he ready to be an NFL quarterback? He only had 13 starts at Florida. He's obviously a freak of nature as an athlete, but how does that translate? Is he going to be a bust? And we've got a really small sample size at this point, but he looked pretty darn good in week 1. And until the concussion in week 2, he looked phenomenal again. Like, he had 2 rushing touchdowns in the first 3 minutes of the game. He was, I believe, 6 for 10. Yeah, 6 for 10 for like 56 yards. So nothing blowing the doors off with the passing game, but I mean, that's 60%, right? So,
right.
He was on his way to a good game. Now, the Colts had kind of stalled out the last possession or two that they had after that second rushing touchdown. But, obviously he sustained the concussion and nobody picked it up after that second touchdown. So I wonder how much of those 2 drives kind of being rough and stalling had to do with whatever he was dealing with that was enough for him to flag down medical personnel on the sideline.
Right. But still, a 31-20 final score is not too shabby with your main guy out. Do we know anything about the guy that basically stepped up after he left the field with concussion? What's the story on this guy?
So that's I
don't even know who he is because all the headlines that I'm reading is just saying shit about him. Have the concussion after scoring 2 touchdowns, he gets a concussion. I'm like, wow. Yeah. So what about the guy that jumped in and said, "Hey man, I got this"? What's his like?
Gardner Minshew, man, Minshew mania. Everywhere he has gone, like he started in Jacksonville. And he won some games for them. And he's kind of becoming like an NFL traveling backup quarterback, right? A lot of people thought when the Colts signed him, he was going to start and Anthony Richardson was going to end up kind of working in eventually behind him. But the Colts, they always day one start a first round pick at a quarterback. They've done it every single time. So, but he's a very capable backup. I mean, he has the potential to be a starter. And as you saw from today, he can have a lot of accuracy. He can move around in the pocket. So, if AR misses another game or, down the line, if he ever, we need Minshew for a quarter or two like we did today, he can obviously still operate the team. I mean, it changes the playbook because of the athletic freak that Anthony Richardson is, but Gardner himself, he's very capable. I wouldn't want to put all my eggs in the Gardner Minshew basket. Like if we were contending for a Super Bowl, he wouldn't be the guy I'd be like, oh, bring him in and he'll make the difference. But he's the guy that can come in and carry a team to, a win or two if your starter's out for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right. So from a quarterback standpoint, the Colts are, would you say, probably in better shape? Again, concussion aside, they're in better shape in the quarterback situation now than they were last year and years prior?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, heck, even without Anthony Richardson in there, I'd say that just on Gardner Minshew alone. But I mean, here's the thing. This is going to be the topic for the next week or however long this lasts is, Richardson went out the last few plays of week 1 with the knee and ankle injury that ended up really being nothing more than a bruise. And now, he's out after 3 or 4 series today. So I'm already seeing the ridiculous fan base in Indianapolis talking about, oh, he's injury prone. That's the next excuse for why he's going to be a bust, since he's come out playing really well when he's been on the field, and that's what everybody said he wouldn't do. So that's going to be the big topic of discussion.
Y'all, not us, but it's such a pounce mentality in that city, where you guys are you put all the eggs in the Manning, but that era is done. But we still want, people still talk about that. People still talk about Luck. We still, and I know I goof on you about this, we still talk about, Reggie Miller and those, whatever the fuck he did, things he did, and we still don't y'all still don't have a ring. They built all this, nope. They rebuilt the didn't they add like a big practice facility there and spent all this money, and y'all can't keep a Starbucks on the circle. Just saying. There's bigger problems.
Well, I mean, there's like 15 Starbucks within a mile of that Starbucks anyway, so who really cares?
But what are they going to do now when the Emmis building leaves? Because the Emmis building's for sale. You don't put something in there. You got a big chunk of real estate, because that, they probably are the biggest piece of real estate on the circle. That's just random shit to throw out there. So I'm like, because I think they're going to go private again, and they're talking about selling the building. That'll be
where
weird.
They're going to go. Probably like Fisher's or something like that.
Yeah, because it's so scaled down now.
Everything's
remember when
going up
Radio
to
Now
that
was on
Fisher's
the
Westfield
circle?
area.
You could see Radio Now. You could see WIBC. It was really cool. And then, the landscape changed. Voice tracking came in. You've got Radio Now playing music and having a jock talk. You walk by the window, there ain't nobody there. Because they're all voice tracked. So that whole thing is gone. So what do you think happens? Okay, Anthony Richardson comes back. Where do you see this team in the next 2 to 3 games?
That's a really tough one, because the 2 to 3 games is quite a considerable gap, because at 2 games we're as is, depending on whether Richardson's playing or not. At 3 games, we're going to know whether Jonathan Taylor's suiting up or not, because he'll come off the pup after the week 4. So we're talking week 5 at that point. And if
what's JT's issue? I don't even know. What's his issue?
Yeah.
What's JT's issue?
Well, that's a long conversation, so let's dive into that in a minute. But if he does come back and play for the Colts, and he actually suits up and puts effort in it, with what we've already had moving, I mean, the receivers are still weak here, man. That's not going to change. We're going to have to bring somebody in eventually. I mean, Pittman ain't it. Pierce is okay. I mean, the tight ends are starting to step up, but there really is no skill position players for Anthony or anybody to throw to. So Pittman's had a good first couple of weeks, but he's a number 2 or 3 on most other teams. But if JT comes back, it adds a complete element to the game. We saw a little bit of that today with Zach Moss. It looked great, way better than Deion Jackson the week before. So, I would be very excited to see what happens if JT comes back and actually things kind of start resolving themselves between the franchise and him, and he comes back and plays and maybe even gets an extension or whatever. I mean, anything's possible, but they've got some tough games coming up. I mean, they've got the Ravens coming up. They've got the Ravens and the Rams, I believe, are the next 2 games, and the Rams, could be one, could be the other, up and down team, but the Ravens are, always tough. Right. And so, if we have to play them with Gardner Minshew, I'm not sure. I don't know if it matters, Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson, but that's going to be a tough game either way. The Rams could go either way. And then we come back for the Titans, and that would be really interesting to see if Jonathan Taylor does come back and play for the team. That'll be his first week on the field, and we're going to know a considerable amount more about this Colts team and what they look like over the course of the next 2 weeks, especially if Anthony Richardson comes back immediately from the concussion.
So what is going on with JT? What is his story? Why is he not playing? What's the deal?
Yeah, man. Colts fans are sick and tired of hearing it, man. And so essentially it started out as he was asking for a contract extension early in the season.
What's he make a year?
Early in the preseason. I think it's 4.3. He's still on his rookie deal. So, he is underpaid for his position.
Okay.
But then he fired his agent and got a new agent, and this guy is typically a boxing UFC type of guy, so he doesn't really understand the concept of team sports. And if I'm being perfectly honest, he's a jackass. He kind of came in swinging. No, he kind of came in swinging, and then Jim Irsay made some foolish comments about the running back position and things of that nature. And so that heated up the Jonathan Taylor camp. And then they said he wanted 16 to 18 million a year extension now, even though he's got a year left on his contract. And the Colts said absolutely not. So Taylor said, trade me. The Colts said absolutely not. Taylor either played injured or still is injured for way too long for this ankle since he missed the last few weeks of last season.
So he's playing possum with him, basically. He's like, man, screw you guys. I'm going to see what happens.
They're both being moronic, if you ask me. The franchise is being moronic. JT and his agent are being complete dumbasses. But then the Colts gave JT permission to go seek a trade, which was completely strategic because he found out real quick that nobody was going to give a first rounder for him and pay him the 15 to 17 million a year he wanted. So they put a deadline on it. That deadline passed. And then, because nothing was resolved still, they put him on the physically unable to perform list, which means he had to sit out at least 4 games, which he's eligible to come off the PUP list in week 5, which is October 8th against the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. That's a lot of money. I mean, but see, I think that's where you start to get like fans pissed off because when people know the backstory like this, you know what I mean? Obviously with the money and stuff involved, and it's like somebody sitting there with their arms crossed going, I think, like you said, I think that it doesn't bode well for the team or the franchise when you have somebody that's very verbal, obviously, about, asking for a trade, asking for more money, and then now, team's sitting there. Now you got your quarterback, sitting out with a concussion. I'm sure he'll be back next week. Hopefully everything will be fine. So what does that do with the rest of the team? Like, where do you think that sits? Like, they're like, wait a minute, we're out here busting our butts as best we can, and this dude's like an asylum, do people think he's worth the money? I mean, what's the general consensus back there?
He's definitely worth the money if he's healthy, right? The problem is he had that killer year 2 years ago. And then last year he had a lot of weird injuries and then again went on IR with, I think, 3 or 4 weeks left to go in the season. So I don't think anybody is opposed to paying him, but I think they kind of want him to prove it a little bit first, right? And I get that. But also, he is definitely grossly underpaid. I mean, I think there's an easy solution here, and it's something like what was done for other running backs in the league that were big free agents. The difference was they were actually on a franchise tag instead of having a year left to go in their contract. So, but I mean, I think it would be easy to just give them a simple restructure like this year, 1 year, $9 million, put like $2 or $3 million in playtime and achievement, incentives, get him up to 12 or 13 for this year. And if he plays well, then give the man his bag. But the Colts are going, nope, you're playing for your $4 million you told us you would. And JT's going, I'm not playing because I'm worth $15 million. And the fact of the matter is they're both right. And when both parties are either right or wrong, you've got to find a middle ground. And I feel like that 1 year, $8 or $9 million with like $3 or $4 million in incentives checks the boxes for everybody for the remainder of this season. And the Colts have the cap space. So there's really no reason they shouldn't be willing to double his paycheck, potentially triple it. If you're out the first 4 weeks, that means there's 13 more games left to play plus the playoffs if it comes to that. If you play a certain percentage of those 13 games, you get another $1.5 million. If you get X amount of yards and X amount of touchdowns within whatever amount of games you play, here's another $1.5 million.
Right.
And that all still counts against the cap if he cashes in, but the Colts have the room. So there's no reason not to do that. Unless his camp is saying, no, you give us 13 or 14 million straight or we're not doing this.
Because I hate to see his agent mess up his deal. You know what I mean? Because greed, no matter what you do, greed will get you every time.
100%. And there's no question right now that Jonathan Taylor's camp looks greedy and their tail is tucked between their legs, but they're too proud to say it. Like, nobody's right in this situation, and the problem is nobody wins in this situation either. Right? Like, this could be a 3-year stalemate because the Colts could franchise Jonathan Taylor for 2 straight years. And if he refuses to play, he's going to find himself being a late 20s running back that hasn't been on the field 3 years, just like what happened with Le'Veon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's going to ruin his career if it's not already messed up from injury. And that's the big X factor. And I think the biggest reason why Ballard and Irsay have not given in to the extension talks. But at the same time, I mean, I love Jim Irsay. He's a phenomenal human. That dude has overcome so much in his lifetime too.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
and yet you had personal experiences with Mr. Ursay like I have. Like, he is a really genuinely awesome human being.
Yep.
But if I'm being honest, he needs to shut the F up and let Chris Ballard run the team. And Chris Ballard needs to walk into his office and say, Mr. Ursay, I love and respect you. I appreciate the opportunity you give me, but I need you to zip it, sir. Like, let me run this team.
Well, and you want to know something? As I've said before, and, statute, it was same thing with Napoleon, because that's when Jim was on, his Twitter kick and everything, and Bill's like, wait a minute, I can't, this has got to be stopped. Why did not, because I know we talked about this last season, why were there no changes made from up top, as sometimes you were calling for in the season, with leadership,
Yeah.
Why do you think there was no changes?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I mean, I have guesses, right? I mean, Frank Reich was fired midseason. They had the whole Jeff Saturday debacle that was absolutely crazy. And
they
as much
set
as
him
I
up
love
for failure.
Jeff,
They set him up for failure, though. Let's face it. That was
Jim made that happen. That was 100% Jim Irsay throwing his buddy Jeff a bone. That is all that was. And I think it did more harm than good for Jeff, because now he's not even on ESPN.
I was going to ask you, he's not even on ESPN now, so he takes this little temporary gig. He goes out there. You know damn well one could be permanent. And then not only that, but they were showing all the people that interviewed for the gig, like, on their website and stuff. So it's like, dude, you're not rowing this boat alone. And then now he can't even go back to the gig that was paying him before all this nonsense started.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was a lose-lose, but, like, out of the dust, like, we hired Shane Steichen. That was the guy I wanted from day one, offensive coordinator for the Eagles last year. Obviously helped Jalen Hurts ascend to what he did. So great coaching hire. I've loved what he's done so far this season in the 2 weeks that we've seen him. He was a little aggressive in week 1, but it looked like he learned his lesson today from that. But I mean, a great coach. Now, as far as Ballard goes, I don't understand. There are several points, and we're covering a little preseason stuff here because this is the first time we've talked this season. But, like, first of all, I don't know how he made it through firing day at the end of last season with a job. But then, obviously, here comes the rebuild. Hey, we've got the 4th overall pick. You will draft a quarterback this time, because that's something he has not done, is invest in the future in a quarterback in the draft, aside from Ellinger, who everybody knew that wasn't going to work. I think Jim said, out of the kindness of his heart, because the guy he is, and he's putting his heart above his football team at this point, which he did. I mean, he did it with Grigson and Pagano too. I mean, he did it with Jim Caldwell. He is notorious for keeping people around too long. And now the problem is, because he did give Ballard that grace, because you're starting the franchise kind of from scratch with a inexperienced rookie quarterback and things, he's got to give him 2 or 3 years at this point for this plan to roll out. And at that point, we're talking about 10 years from day one, and we're in year 7 right now without a single playoff win, and most of those seasons we didn't even sniff the playoffs. So I don't understand why Ballard wasn't excused from his position at the end of the year. And the other point is when we put out the 53-man roster a week or so before the season started, there was one point we only had 3 wide receivers. 3 wide receivers. That's unacceptable. And then where he's talked about dumping all of his money, the trenches, there's just zero depth at the O-line. Ryan Kelly went out today with a concussion, and we've got our backup right guard playing center. Fortunately, it didn't blow up in our face, but, like, for someone who's preached trenches for 7 years now, and we've accomplished nothing because he refuses to really take care of the skill position, the trench looks pretty effing bad on the offensive side.
Man, I'm telling you. So, here's another. I love throwing these random questions at you because, I'm not gonna lie, because we don't get Colts games out here, because out here it's just of course, the Cardinals suck, so they're not doing anything playoff wise. Blues hockey hasn't started back up. People are into the whole arena football thing, so that's kind of like the focus in the St. Louis metro area here. What about? And don't be all afraid and all edited in your response. Okay, and with regards to Anthony Richardson, could Kaepernick fill that void? I was trying to see if I can get you to drop an F-bomb. I was trying, and you caught yourself. So you use mouth and go, okay, I get it.
Let's, no, hell no. Fuck no. There's your F-bomb. Hell no. hell no, fuck no, hell no, dude. Colin Kaepernick.
Why does he
like,
keep
look,
trying? Like, why does he keep?
I don't
why
know.
Does he keep like
Because
showing these videos and all this other stuff? Because it seems like
I don't know.
that ship sailed.
It's all publicity. It's all publicity. Look, even the Jets, after Aaron Rodgers went down with the Achilles last week, went, we're good. We don't. We're all right.
That's
all
pretty
right.
bad.
We'll run with Mike White.
That's pretty bad when you'll take your backup
yeah.
over this guy because, and I think again going back to even way back when, I just don't think the NFL, as we've talked about before, I just don't think, and regardless of his stance or whatever, I just don't think they want a lot of distractions. You know, I think I think you need to focus.
That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good. I think he had a flash in the pan year in a system with a coach nobody really knew the game plan about. That kind of quarterback wasn't really, that was the beginning of that, right? Like, but it was still the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning pocket passer era, right? And so one of the reasons he was so successful was A, because San Francisco had a ridiculous cast around him, but B, nobody really knew how to game plan for that. Now half the league, I mean, the Colts are one of the last teams to go to that format this year with Anthony Richardson. We had the statue Matt Ryan last year. So like, I don't think he's that good. I think he was a flash in a pan, let alone all the distractions, regardless of where you land on the whole subject matter. I mean, 6-7 years later, that doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter anymore. He's tried out for football teams and they've went pass. To me, that's, you're not good enough to outweigh the negative that could potentially come with the distraction that you will create.
Right. Because I don't think I haven't seen anybody really like campaign, any of like the newscasters, whether it be ESPN, when I'm listening and kind of going around of somebody going, hey man, give this guy a break. I don't see anybody, coming to his rescue, because I've heard more than one person, including yourself, saying, okay, outside of all the other stuff, he's not that good.
No. And now he's getting older and older and older. And granted, he doesn't have the wear and tear because he hasn't played.
Right.
But look, wear and tear or not, age is undefeated.
Yeah, that is true. One more question before we wrap up, because I know it's probably your dinner time, because I always look at when we record. And do you ever see, because, again, we've said stranger things have happened. Do you ever see Brady coming out of retirement ever? Because the old lady dumped him, okay? So he doesn't have that whole thing hanging over his head. That was a fiasco. I really think she was the reason why he played let's face it, 110%, where, she's in the, paparazzi showing her with some, trainer dude or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see, I know, you got to throw some gossip in there. Do you see him doing anything, whether it's, sportscasting or whatever? Do you see him doing anything? I mean, what do you think he's doing now? Like, he's counting his rings, he's counting his money. What's he doing?
He's done on the field. He's not coming back to the game. It would not surprise me to see him in the booth somewhere. As a matter of fact, I think he has a deal with Fox, maybe, that he's going to be coming either to the studio or doing play-by-plays like what Troy Aikman does. I'll have to look that up. I'm not going to do it right now, but
right.
It is funny because Gronk is on the Fox morning pregame now, and he's outstanding. So, as much as I hate Tom Brady and I hate the Patriots, I've always loved Gronk. And I think it would be kind of funny to see those two on a show together, right? Like Gronk and
I think
Brady.
so. But then we thought the same thing about the Manning brothers, and that kind of didn't last.
I don't know. The Manning brothers was pretty. No, they're still doing.
No,
it.
they were. Okay, because I know there was.
Yeah, they're still doing the Monday Night Football.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely hilarious too.
Because Peyton really is hilarious. Peyton is hilarious.
They both are.
I've never seen the two of them. But whoever writes
tune in Monday night.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see that because he was on
here's
Saturday
what you
Night
need
Live.
to do. You need to go. No, you need to go. Hang on. You need to go back to last season and watch the episode where they had Marshawn Lynch on there. It is some of the funniest moments in media. It's outstanding. Marshawn Lynch is dropping all kinds of F-bombs and talking about weed. And,
nice.
He's worse than you, bro. Like, trying to keep you edited for this
No
new
way.
show would be easy compared to Marshawn. And Peyton's just sitting over there, like, uncomfortable the whole time. And Eli's cracking up like he's a 12-year-old that just heard his dad say fuck for the first time. It's absolutely gold.
So tell everybody, because we've already mentioned this a couple times, because, we all have our individual projects, which, we have the Myles B Show, we have the Alex B Podcast. So tell everybody why we're kind of like, I don't want to use the word that we're going to sanitize it, because that's just not us. Because why so there's a bigger picture of stuff that's going on. Why don't you share that with the people?
I can't share the
why?
whole picture just yet, right? Because
tell
nothing
them what's in the
is
oven.
signed
Tell 'em
and
what's
sealed.
cooking.
But we are baking up a pretty fun partnership with some local media here. And again, hopefully we'll have the announcement coming on Monday. Maybe even by the time people listen to this or watch this, Monday or Tuesday, we'll be able to make the official announcement. But pretty cool step in the right direction. So, essentially with this opportunity, we had the Myles B Show, the Alex B podcast. For years, I've just been calling into your show right before I started my own last year. And the B Brothers is over a decade of decadence now, right? Like, plenty of
We're coming
fun
up.
stories
We're coming up
that
on the
we'll
anniversary.
never be able to share. Yeah, we
No.
are. We are.
We're coming up on the
It's,
anniversary, November
let's see.
1st, Halloween night. Halloween night.
It'll be 17 years. 17 years, Alex.
Yeah, because I got let go in
2006.
Yeah, 17
2006.
years. Wow.
17 years of the B Brothers, bro. So we're coming on 20. So anyway, we have this awesome opportunity. This is a show that we'd like to take to new heights, right? Like
Absolutely.
not just about the Colts or not even just about Indianapolis and stuff around there, like just on a grand scale, whether it's a syndicated podcast, getting on the airwaves somewhere, doing a morning show, like whatever. So we decided that we were going to join forces and go with the old B Brothers moniker, right? And so here it is, the B Brothers Show, right? Episode 1. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give us for this first show, Alex? I'm going to go with a 2.5.
I'm gonna say 5 because normally we kind of talk ahead of time, and like you said before, we both can get on a microphone, and I've got like a little cue screen left of me where I'm like reading the headlines so I can like I'm a game show host, and I just think there's enough. I don't want to say enough material. I just think there's enough between us and stuff that we can see or whatever that we're knowledgeable on. You especially with the Colt. I mean, you live and breathe this stuff. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I read whatever St. Louis media decides to throw at me and go, and that's all I saw when I pull up the headlines. That's the only thing we're talking about. I'm like, damn, like this dude's concussion, 2 touchdowns, boom, you're out. And I think now with the concussion protocol, they're probably not as easy to go back on the field than they have been in years past because there's been such a spotlight on that, which is good because
I think it's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think ultimately, as a fan, it's a frustrating thing. Just as a human in general, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to see these guys walking and living past 50.
Yeah, I do. And like I said, maybe luck. We talked about this before, and I won't harp on it. Maybe luck knew something. Luck bounced or whatever. I mean, even though I think he got this dirty, I think the way they went about it was wrong or whatever. I mean, just look at that. That was a stunt, and then, that was pretty much the media attention. Then you've got, before that, you got Jim, flying around the city with the sheriff on the plane trying to get him to retire. Nope, that didn't happen. So hopefully this concussion with Richardson gets back up. JT gets his stuff together because I really think things like that really do kind of rattle the nucleus of a team because no matter what you're doing on the field or you're on the bench waiting to go in, you've got to be thinking, man, this fool sitting over here ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? So I just think as much of those distractions they can iron out before they start getting into some serious opponents, it can only be better.
Well, it's starting, right? Like, I mean, the Jags were a serious opponent and they played them well, and the Texans were not, right? Like, anybody can beat the worst team in the league or one of the 2 worst teams in the league. So, be interesting to see who's healthy and who's not, and what we look at next week against Baltimore. That's gonna tell us a lot of what this team's made up of.
Let's do your
guesstimate.
Your guesstimate prediction. Let's just say that Richardson is back in.
Okay.
Let's just consider JT still back. I don't think they're going to iron this stuff out.
He can't play until week 5 anyway. So he's out no matter what.
So let's look at Richardson being back in. Now again, they won 31-20. When he bounced out. So what do you see? What do you see a score looking like next week?
Ooh, that's tough. It's in Baltimore, and that's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
Man, I always hate, even last year when we knew we were going to lose just about every game, I always hated picking against the Colts. But I'm
you got to be a realist
this time.
You got to be a realist.
I got to be a realist.
You have to.
Obviously it's way too early to tell because this game just ended. So we don't know if Richardson's going to play. We don't know what the line is. We don't know who's playing or not playing for Baltimore or anybody else from Indy that might have gotten dinged up or hurt today, right? So there's a lot of unknowns. So this is like the way too early prediction. But I think I'm probably going to say 31-24 Ravens.
Yeah, I see you're kind of sticking in that 30, 30-some points, 20-some points, kind of like what we had today.
It's what we've seen so far in both games.
So far. So maybe that's a trend. Maybe it continues. So maybe we'll do an update this week. Those of you that are listening or watching, and kind of give you a preview. If we don't do a preview, because again, it's not for lack of not trying. It's just he's got a house full of people. I still got and racing. I mean, we're going through November and racing, so it's like even though we only race 2 days a week, there's a lot of stuff involved between those 2 days and everything. So it's like when we're not racing, which November 18th is like our last day, then there's like a lot more breathing room till March till they start shipping in and we start back over. So that's where it gets. Like last night, like you're blowing this dude. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. So this dude was, man, I'm telling you, he set up the domains, he set up this, that, and the third, and I'm like, and I sent him a picture of like the crowd. I'm like, bro, I'm busy. We're racing. I mean, I literally was almost gonna like sit there and tape my phone to one of the horses and say, bro, this is what's going on right now. We've got 8 races. We've got, and it was just funny because I was reading this. I'm like. And I was like, feel bad. I'm like, dude, so I sent you the one picture. And if you see some of the stuff that I post, I mean, we do good crowds. And I don't have to have, balloon animals and all this other crazy stuff that I had to do before because these people in this part of the area are so loyal to the product that they come out there. And I think that's what makes it fun because you don't have to have all these bells and whistles and crazy sidekicks. Or somebody said something they posted because everybody's got a set of nads when they're on the keyboard. I get that, but they're like, oh man, this place looks like it does in the 80s. But again, there's still 3,000 people there on a Tuesday for Horsehooky Tuesday. There's still a couple thousand people out on a Saturday, so it works. So we will try to get. We'll definitely do this weekly.
Listen. I know I blew you up, and I even apologized for it. Right, like I told you, like I feel bad, but I had all this information that I needed to give to you. And
it's like,
so,
dude, you got to digest
like
this before we start it.
The crazy girlfriend, just like.
I know,
right? And
I know you were kind of like
these one-word answers. Like
I know you were.
Just tell me
like,
you love me too, man.
Yeah, you were like hammering me like I like we were one and done or something. Like I stood you up, and I'm like, this dude's like going in. And what I was gonna do, I literally was gonna, and maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do a live stream on our social of what a night looks like because it is really it's fun. Maybe one of these days I'll do that. Maybe I try not to cross pollinate obviously with the solo podcast and stuff, but maybe I might just give you a glimpse of that because it really is fun. And it really, like I said, we only race 2 days a week, but it's between the race days and just, coming up with new ways to get people, entranced into the product and supporting such a thing. It's been going on since the 30s, since that track opened. It's fun.
Right.
So we're going to wrap for now. Somebody's going to go get something to eat, I'm sure, because it's getting close to dinner time.
And we're both
Indiana.
Fat.
And we're both fat. We both got to eat. We're withering away. Look. See? we're withering away.
Withering away. Look. No. Well, listen, awesome. Well, hey, it has been awesome. Episode 1. We're going to try to do these every Sunday and Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in. Follow the socials. It's the B Bros on Twitter and TikTok. The B Brothers Show on YouTube and Facebook. Man, Alex. We're everywhere. Rock out, brother. And I will see you next week.
Peace out.